Today I will present you the results, some of the results which we are able to publish, the results of the joint work with Fundamental Rights Agency. And unlike the last times, this time we will see also the data for the EU countries, not only the ones which are the members of the Decade of Roma Inclusion, but for the first time we have also comparable data available for the countries from Western Europe, which on Roma, which was not the case before. Just so that you understand somehow the background of this cooperation or coordination between Fundamental Rights Agency and UNDP World Bank, the Fundamental Rights Agency was tasked to provide some support to the member states in monitoring and creating the monitoring systems for the monitoring of national Roma implementation strategies already in the communication from the European Commission from 2010. Which identified that there is a lack of official socioeconomic data on Roma and so on, the problems which we know. UNDP with the World Bank were implementing the survey as part of the Roma pilot project on tools and methods for evaluation and data collection as a basis for evidence-based policies, where we were working also with another project that Silvia Palagi will be presenting after me. Why there needs to be two surveys? Why there need to be two surveys done by 2 or 3 large agencies? Actually, each of the agencies had a little bit different approach to the issues of Roma exclusion. And this is also like the main conceptual difference of the approach that has been in place until now, when the exclusion of Roma was always looked at as a matter of human rights violation, while UNDP and the World Bank are trying to put also the development opportunities perspective into this topic of inclusion of Roma. And also the 2 surveys that were implemented by FRA and by UNDP World Bank have had these 2 angles incorporated, and partially we were able to overlap and produce data with a little bit higher accuracy. The survey or the data which I will be presenting now is covering the 11 EU member states plus the 6 non-EU member states in Western Balkans plus Moldova, and in total this survey is providing information on about 84,000 people in all these countries together. It must be stressed that this data is not about the Roma in general in any country. It is about the Roma who are living in localities with higher concentration of Roma. It means that the Roma account for a higher share of Roma of the population than what is the national average. And actually, FRA was doing also in France the survey of a special group of the Roma migrants, Roma travelers, domestic Roma, and also the Roma migrants coming especially from Romania. Just to illustrate what I was speaking until now on a map, the dark blue are EU member states. Yellow countries are the countries where the 2 surveys were overlapping, and the yellow with lines countries are the countries where only UNDP was implementing the regional survey together with the World Bank. The data is fairly rich, informing on various aspects of the life, and what I will present is just a very small snapshot of the data. I will not comment each of the graphs. I will leave it up to you for when you will have a look at the presentation later on. I will just highlight the key messages. When we look at the preschool education, preschool enrollment, we see that throughout Europe, and here I mean not only European Union, but also the Western Balkans and countries and Moldova, on average only a half of the Roma children are attending preschool or kindergarten, with the big variations between the countries having, for example, Hungary at the top position with over 80% of children in preschool, and going down to Greece, where it is below 10%, and some of the Western Balkan countries even below that. If you look at the participation in education, we see that it drops considerably after compulsory education. So although the focus of the education policies should be put on this transfer from compulsory education, from primary and lower secondary education to upper secondary, only 15% of young Roma adults that were surveyed had completed upper secondary general or vocational education, which is quite alarming numbers, especially from the labor market participation point of view. If you look at the average number of years that people spend in education, we see that on average, Roma stay in school only half of the time of the non-Roma. And what is especially striking is that they are spending time which is even less than the compulsory duration of the compulsory education. When looking at the employment, on average, fewer than 1 out of 3 Roma are reported to be in paid employment, which is not that much surprising, as well as fairly high unemployment rate is reported. But what is quite shocking is that especially a young generation of those who are unemployed have never had experience of paid employment. And this is quite dangerous for any kind of future of the new generations coming out of the school and to the labor market. When it comes to health, 1 out of 3 Roma respondents aged 35 to 54 years report some health problems which are limiting their daily activities. On average, about 20% of Roma respondents are not covered by medical insurance or don't know whether they are covered, with the situation varying between the countries. When it comes to housing, we are witnessing overcrowding, which is support the reality which we know from visits to some of the Roma settlements are also confirmed by the data from the survey. About 45% of the Roma live in households where they are lacking some basic housing amenities like kitchen, toilet, indoor or shower or bath, or even electricity. When it comes to poverty, about 90% of the Roma surveyed live in the households which are at risk of poverty. This is relative poverty is 60% of medium equalized income per capita. We are experiencing quite high share of even food poverty in individual households, when on average about 40% of Roma are living in households where somebody went to bed hungry at least once in the last month, since they couldn't afford to buy enough food for all household members. And if we compare, this graph allows to see the situation not only of the surveyed Roma and their non-Roma neighbors, but also in case of the European Union member states, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania, also comparison with the situation for the general population. And we see that both Roma and their non-Roma neighbors are facing much higher material deprivation than the general population in given countries. The last slide about the discrimination is a little bit, maybe it is not it is not presenting the results which everybody would be expecting from the level of discrimination or the frequency of the discrimination in the debates on the events like this one. But only half of the Roma which were surveyed, they said that they have experienced some discrimination in the past 12 months because of their ethnic origin, which is a little bit in contradiction with the prevalence of the word discrimination in the international events. As I said, this is just a snapshot. You can find the report with some more explanations on the web pages which are provided at the end. Further data, further information from both surveys, including comparison in case of the new EU member states and the Western Balkan countries, comparison how much the situation changed vis-à-vis 2004 will be available. I believe that during Croatian presidency we will be done with the analysis and will be able to really say from the numbers whether all these efforts that the decade has put into the place made some change on the ground. Thank you very much.